Good afternoon. Please be seated. My name is Lynn Simons, and I'm a district court judge for the state court in Nevada. I'm very excited to be here as my second nationals judging. I'm going to remind all of you to take a very deep breath right now.
Hi, I'm Maurice Monroe. I am the Chief Federal Judge in Arizona. I'm also very grateful to be here with you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tammy Waller, and I'm the Director for K-12 Social Studies and World and Native Languages at the Arizona Department of Education, and I'm very excited to hear your testimony today.
And this is Unit 6, What Challenges Might Face American Constitutional Democracy. And I apologize, let me step back. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Josephine Tinkerton. I'm Madeline Hoost.
I'm Colton Trossel. And I'm Logan Vincent. We're all seniors at Laurel High School, and our teacher is Mr. Deming.
Okay, now I'll go into Unit 6. What challenges might face American constitutional democracy in the 21st century? Thomas Hobbes noted that life in a state of nature is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. How has the human condition changed over time, and how is that change reflected in our expectations of government? Should the principles of natural rights or classical republicanism guide policy changes designed to improve the condition of all people? What are the most pressing domestic and global challenges facing Americans today and in the future? What policy can you suggest to address them? You may begin.
Thomas Hobbes believed that the evil of mankind requires control by force. Without order over our evil, chaos will ensue. However, John Locke's philosophy of natural rights contradicts this by saying our rights are more focused on the individual being rational and capable of making their own decisions. The concept of human condition is rooted in how people view and value themselves and others. The implementation of better technologies has lessened the toil on the average American, which has greatly increased our expected standards of living. People can have more meaningful views on the human condition when they have time to educate themselves. Due to the internet's vast resources, today we have more access to information from professionals that allows us to have a deeper, more educated understanding of the rights we deserve as humans. However, this is only applicable if you have the desire to learn. We would also argue that we are living in a society that has not lived up to the founding principles of the Constitution. This is because of a lack of civics being taught to the average student or citizen. A large majority of our country's incoming generations are losing sight of the government's true purpose. Whether our government remains faithful to its founding principles, our expectations of government are changing over time. The founders of our country went through a trial of hardships and understanding the country they sought to disperse from and to build upon. Unlike this time, many citizens in today's society do not understand the importance of liberty we have been given or the ideas behind it.
We believe that natural rights and classical republicanism are both important key principles to our country as intended by the founders. However, without natural rights, classical republicanism would not exist in a way that would truly benefit the people. Only focusing on the good of the community sacrifices all individual rights. Protecting each person's individual rights ensures that we all have rights as a whole. Therefore, natural rights are more valid to guide policy changes because we know our liberties will be ensured. However, classical republicanism is also necessary because it assists the people who may be disadvantaged by our society.
3 challenges we face today in our country as well as globally are debt, climate, and healthcare. National debt is ever increasing, and the financial choices we are making as a country are adding to this issue. Bailouts like stimuli given to the people and businesses are further creating strain in our economy. Climate change and destabilization, as well as pollution, are other concerns of the people today. We need to take this issue on, but not in a way that will wreak havoc on our global economy. Wind power and solar power are ideal resources to have implemented in the long run, but today we find difficulty in producing them without creating more CO2 emissions. We would also need to find a reliable way to store the energy because energies like sunlight and wind aren't consistent. We believe that nuclear energy could be an efficient way to power our country with less emissions. This source has worked well for other large countries such as France. For example, a single uranium pellet, slightly larger than a pencil eraser, contains the same energy as a ton of coal, 3 barrels of oil, or 17,000 cubic feet of natural gas. However, power sources such as this are not accepted because of a few incidents such as Chernobyl and Fukushima, as well as a failure at 3 Mile Island. However, fossil fuels will eventually run out because they are a non-renewable resource, so this issue is one that needs to be addressed just as quickly as the others. Furthermore, available healthcare is a monumental issue which we'll have to solve as well. We can do so by making it an entirely free market so medical companies can compete with each other's prices. However, there is also the option of creating a free healthcare plan like many other countries. There are many more difficulties with this, however, and it would take a lot of planning, which could further strain our economy.
One of the most prominent and current worldwide topics we face is COVID-19. In the US, this created a new strain on our people's health that has been detrimental to our economy. Americans today are faced with many new moral dilemmas. Should the government revoke COVID protocols to save our economy? Even more so, to what extent has the coronavirus been manipulated to misinform the American people? These questions are things many people ask themselves. As Americans, we need to determine if what our government is doing is aiding the health of the people or simply encroaching upon our rights and expanding control. We are now ready for your questions.
All right, thank you. So taking a look at these three issues, debt, climate, and healthcare that you identified, if we look on the global stage, to which international organizations, if any, should the United States belong in order to address those issues?
I would say to address those issues specifically would not be a help to be a part of an international organization.
I believe globalization in that term doesn't necessarily help everybody when it comes to certain issues like debt. The US has specifically their own debt, and of course we have national debt, but it's a little bit different in that sense.
So I believe that most issues should stay inside of the country, but climate change maybe and destabilization maybe should be more of a global issue just because what we decide as a country does affect the entire planet, affects everyone.
So do you or do you not believe that that we should participate in the World Health Organization?
I personally would advocate for not being in the World Health Organization, as they have demonstrated that they have pushed propaganda for the Chinese government, especially in this time of the COVID-19 virus.
All right, thank you. Judge Snow?
To what extent, along the same lines, to what extent can or should the United States facilitate and even subsidize the administration of COVID vaccines worldwide without creating the perception that it is not serving American interests first?
Is there any way you could repeat the question? I couldn't hear it very well. For some reason, I think the speaker was a bit quiet.
Certainly, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
To what extent can or should the United States facilitate and even subsidize the administration of COVID vaccinations worldwide without creating the perception that it is not serving American interests first?
I would say that the United States government should not be subsidizing the manufacture of vaccines for sales worldwide. I believe that there's enough business incentive for the companies manufacturing these vaccines to be sent overseas. And that should drive the distribution of this vaccine and the acquisition of it by other nations.
Okay. So in your opening statement, you talked about the unprecedented access to information through the internet. Can you think, if we look at this internet access of information, can you think about ways that this might cause conflict or polarization conflict or polarization on some of these issues that you're talking about in your opening statement?
One example I can think of would be social media. I know there's a lot of arguments about heated political topics on most social media sites. Anywhere you can go, you can read that. And even some news sites that maybe allow comment sections, there's a lot of disagreement and argument between those. And I think that brings up a lot of the conflict and shows a lot of people's differing views.
And I believe to go off on a little bit of a different side of that, when you just look up something on the internet, it can be very hard to find information that you can factually check, and that can be very difficult in understanding certain situations.
I will agree with my colleague. Out of personal experience and just seeing the people around me, a lot of time people will find political information on social media, and they will think that it is either true or untrue, and they'll go to verify this on the internet, and they will find a lot of the same conflicting viewpoints that are not necessarily facts but opinion. So it's becoming harder and harder for the average citizen to know what is true and what is false about what is going on. That's why we saw a lot of confusion even during COVID-19 about what we should be doing. Should we be wearing masks? How do we social distance? Even things like that become political opinions, and then it becomes very difficult to find good, valid information on them.
And to take a slightly different tack from my colleagues here, what I really see on the internet and on social media is that it's very easy to silo yourself around people who all share your same beliefs, even if those beliefs are incorrect. And I think that rapidly contributes to polarization, because if you only listen to people that agree with you, then it's much easier to rapidly polarize and really radicalize your ideas.
So again, turning globally to different types of resolutions, under what circumstance, if any, should the United States declare war?
I believe as a group, we discussed that no war is good, but some war is necessary. And it can be very difficult in certain situations to determine which war is necessary and which war would just simply harm overall.
Yes, so in our prepared remarks, we talked about non-interventionism, which is basically where we just stay out of foreign affairs until it is absolutely necessary for us in terms of war and things such as that, which are complicated issues. Unless like a group of people or something like that poses a direct threat to our country, we believe that we shouldn't get involved with it just because we are expanding too far. We are creating too much outreach into where we're spreading our resources thin.
Should the United States have gotten involved in Vietnam?
So Vietnam is a really tricky subject, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. And I believe that what happened in Vietnam is that we had a long-term containment strategy, but with the change in administrations over the years before leading up to the Vietnam War and when we were in the Vietnam War, that we changed from containment to active engagement in these areas in some ways that we shouldn't have. We accelerated it faster than it needed to be. So I believe that it's very possible that we still could have been dragged into Vietnam, but I believe that we drug ourselves into it faster than we needed to.
So should we have been in Vietnam at all?
Yes, because that was part of the containment strategy against the Soviet Union to stop the spread of communism to the Western world.
To the extent that you've suggested nuclear energy as a possible, one of a possible number of cures to the climate crisis, I think that's most ingenious. What are some of the obstacles to implementing a nuclear energy strategy in the United States?
Well, I feel like one of the main obstacles we face is just social, which we've stated in our prepared remarks, because a lot of people, when they hear nuclear energy, they automatically think that it's bad because they've seen these select examples of where it has gone bad. But there would also be large expenses in doing this. We'd have to find zoning where this could be allowed and not interfering with nature further. But yes, there would definitely be many challenges.
And to slightly build off what my colleague said, I believe that one of the other major obstacles is that nuclear energy has been so ostracized by our culture and by our government that we've lost a lot of the infrastructure and a lot of the widespread knowledge on nuclear energy. So it's a very select group of people that know a lot about it.
Thank you. Good job. I enjoyed it's fantastic when we hear different viewpoints, and I appreciated your viewpoint and that you stuck to your guns and then kind of had to give it up a little bit on the Vietnam questioning. But I thought that you held your ground, and your examples and discussion regarding the energy I thought was creative as well. And your example regarding the pencil eraser, it really drove the point home. remember that you are experts testifying before Congress. And so you don't need to preface your comments by "I would say," just say it with, just own it. And that's kind of a picky little thing, but I would add, if you can, it's hard on Unit 6 to really add too many references to the Constitution, but I would try to make sure you have them in your cross-exam answers at some point. Just have something canned that you can, or a case or some other types of examples of policies or that you may not say in your testimony, but then it shows the depth of your knowledge in cross-exam. But I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also enjoyed your presentation, and part of the reason I enjoyed it is because you did have different viewpoints and you all pretty much stuck to your guns, which was fun. It's fun to get in a debate, and I think we are, and it's one of the points you made actually, we're losing the ability to debate even when we have different points of view courteously. And I enjoyed that. One of the problems it presents that I just would point out is when you all pretty much have the same point of view, sometimes it doesn't really give a full explanation of both sides of an issue. So I would consult with your coach. He or she may disagree with this, but sometimes I think you don't have to disagree with a colleague if you disagree with them, but you might say, even though I agree with Logan, I think that some people would think this for this reason, but this is my response. For example, it's a pretty rare thing in the world today to find a group of young people who think we shouldn't be involved in any world organizations. Yet that's pretty much your view. I think it's perfectly great that you stuck to your guns and gave reasons why you thought that, and I'm not critical at all. But one of you might have said, there's some view, the reasons people want these organizations is X, Y, and Z, just to show some acknowledgement that you're aware of the other side of the question. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty entertaining presentation. It was different and I enjoyed it.
So I echo my other panelist judges. The thing I love about Unit 6 is that everybody has a different way of approaching the question, and it's very refreshing to hear different interpretations. And I do echo, though, Judge Snow's idea that it's always good to have the opposing viewpoint in there so you can show it, but then you can defeat it also in your presentation. So just looking at counterclaims. But I thought you did a great presentation. You're very at ease with the material. You have a great presentation style. You're not too fast. You allow us to really listen and to focus in on what you're saying. And good job.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Good luck for the rest of the day and tomorrow. And thank you for spending your afternoon with us. You are free to go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.